Hey, hello everyone. Dr. Sue here. It is a great joy to be with you for the next few moments. I want to take a moment and really connect with you on something that I'm very excited about. It is about our beloved community member, Jeralyn Glass. She's got a new book coming out, and I'm thrilled to be supporting her in its fantastic launch, and you guys get to be a part of that. Okay. So I want to just tell you a couple of things on a formal level about Jeralyn, and then we're going to dive in and have a conversation about what's in her book, why it's in her book, and what this book can do for our entire community and for the world. Okay. So let me just say that Jeralyn is an internationally acclaimed singer. She's not just a singer. She is a premier opera singer. Okay. She's been on tour around the world in some of the finest opera houses that our cultures know. And she is a diva extraordinaire in this department. She is also now an author and a leader in the field of sound healing. She has become truly a leader in this new sound healing idea that is returning again to our culture. And I'm thrilled that she is helping us be on the cutting edge of such natural modalities. So she's been sharing the gift of music medicine with the world for decades in different ways. And as many of you know, she has a story that brought her to this moment in time that we'll share a little bit about in our conversation. She offers an alchemical blend of crystalline meditation, bioenergetics, and transformational sound that ignites music's power to heal. She created Crystal Cadence and as an educational platform, also the sacred science of sound. And she has an app that's out. She is ready to roll with being in support of the world in new ways. She is premiering this app called Source. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And she is also the author of Crystal Sound Healing Oracle, a card deck that has very special multimedia impact. And so I'm going to bring information about that to you as well. So we're going to spend a few minutes talking with Jeralyn and allowing her to share what she's about right now and what is surfacing through her combination of the work that she's been through with the energy codes and continues to be an avid student of, and also is blending that with her own deep desire to serve the world through sound healing and music. And so I want to welcome you, Jeralyn, to the conversation and congratulate you on your new book. So, Jeralyn, welcome.
Aw, thank you so much, Dr. Sue. It really would not have been possible without you and the energy codes and this community.
We have a beautiful history. I know that I was in Machu Picchu in Cusco and leading an opening orientation to a tour that we were doing through the Sacred Valley of Peru. And at the end of the orientation conversation, you came up to me and introduced yourself and told me a little bit about your story of having lost your son and that he had always wanted to come to South America and go to Machu Picchu, and that you had decided to, go for it and bring him, even though he was no longer in skin, he was certainly with you in spirit, and you wanted to celebrate a deep desire of his. And in those moments, I knew in an instant that you had landed in the right place, that it wasn't just about you fulfilling a dream of your son's, but there was something new that was going to unfold for you because of your engagement into a new world. It was a realm of understanding life differently than most people have an understanding of it. That happens when we delve into this conversation of the energy codes and a larger perspective, our multidimensionality, etc. And so I was very happy in that moment to know that there was a place for you to not only heal, but to find a deeper version of you. And would you like to share anything? I mean, I know it was a tender moment and a tender time in your life, but is there anything that you would like to share about those moments in Peru together? Yeah.
This photo stays with me always. And to see, first of all, your kindness and generosity in sharing this ritual with Dylan up on the top of Machu Picchu, which I was too weak and in grief to do the climb with you. just could feel you. I went to the other side, the sacred, the Valley of the Sun, and that changed everything, Dr. Sue. That moment, that picture, your kindness, it gave me a perspective that there is a bigger picture to life, and I didn't need to be a victim landing the rest of my life in grief. And that beam of light and all the work of the energy codes taught me that we are so much bigger than this skin, and there's such a bigger purpose for our lives.
I'd like to unpack that just a moment, because you flashed that picture up there and some people won't know what they were looking at. So I want to just share a little bit and then you can hold it up again. But basically, Jeralyn was supposed to hike to the top of Huayna Picchu with us, and the day came to do that. And she was just like, I need to not do that, but I appreciate it. So she had given me a photograph of Dylan, her son, and I put it in my backpack and we went to the top. And when we got there, I really felt to just kind of show Dylan, the sights and to take it all in and to just have a moment. So we have a little ceremony with the cocoa leaves, and just a sacred ceremony that happens in South America at some of the most pinnacle moments in their spirituality. And we went through one of these ceremonies, and then I held the photo up and showed this view. And someone else that was on the tour took a picture, took a video. Someone was videoing, others were taking photographs. And then we came back down, and then we got on the train and we went down the mountain to the hotel or on a bus down the mountain to the hotel, and got on a train to go back to where we were staying. And while we were on the train ride, this gentleman who took the photograph came back with tears in his eyes and showed me in his camera the picture that he had taken of that moment. And captured in this moment was a ray of light coming from this, the higher realms, straight into, this voice, this throat, this manifesting presence of the photograph of her son. So Jeralyn, if you could hold that up and maybe hold that part of it up a little closer to the camera so people can really see this. It was quite a moment. Yeah, just pull that right up in. So there I am holding his photograph, and lift that up just a little bit so we can see it a little bit there, right there. You can see this beautiful exchange, this light that comes straight into the photo. And so he had tears in his eyes showing me this photograph, and I had tears in my eyes, seeing it. And I knew that there was something else happening in this whole exchange, in this relationship between Dylan and Jeralyn, and this work, this truth that we are working with inside of Everything Mortar Institute. And so Jeralyn became one of the most gracious students ever. She was at something I was doing almost every time I turned around. I think you had a commitment of once a month you were going to be in something, because she was in her grief, and yet she wanted to grow and to open. And at the same time, she would, just be like kicking and screaming, like there's no way that there could be good in this thing and that has happened in my life. And yet she leaned in, and oh my goodness, has something miraculous unfolded because of leaning in moments when she didn't want to. Now, bear in mind, she came from a world of music and sound vibration and working with sound through your body. And then she was learning about energy medicine inside of our conversation, inside of this coursework in this community. And it was all coming together inside of her, which turned on some aspects of her consciousness that may have never been turned on had she not been through the trauma that she had been through, had she not been filleted open in the way that she was. But what happened for you, Jeralyn, in those?
The funny thing, Dr. Sue, was Dylan was a ski racer. He was an athlete, and we had traveled to many high peaks. We had seen Mount Everest, and Machu Picchu was on our bucket list. And so after he passed away and we were communicating through sound, through vibration, I said to him, okay, we're going to go to Machu Picchu. Tell me who we're going with. And I opened the computer and I Googled spiritual journeys to Machu Picchu, and you came up. And I watched your TED Talk. I was like, okay, this is cool. Yes, let's go with Dr. Sue. But wait, let me just make sure. Shouldn't we go with the native Quechuan? And I could hear him, no, Mom, we're going with Dr. Sue. And when I told you that story, you said to me that, because he said, she's the shaman. Mom, we're going with Dr. Sue. She's the real shaman. And you told me that people had said to you, called you the shaman in the business suit.
Right.
So
That's very funny. He was onto it.
I mean, that was, yeah. Mom, we're going with her. She's the shaman. I don't need to find a Quechuan person, right? And so many things happened on that trip that just, my room, the sign on the door of my room said Tintin, which means passion fruit in Quechuan. And Tintin was his favorite comic book character. It's a series of 16 comic books by Hergé in France. And Dylan had traveled with me to France as a singer from the time he was little. So it was like I stood in front of that room and was like, how did I get this room? And she was like, well, this is your room. So, and I could hear him saying, well, Mom, are you having fun yet? So this whole connection with you just opened up to me this possibility of expanding beyond and beyond what we know and what we see.
Well, you have definitely done that. You have delved in and taken into consideration your education of how to generate particular sound through the body and how the body has to open in certain ways for different notes to be hit as a beautiful opera singer. And for you to regulate that energy through your body for this instrument to perform in terms of generating sound. But what you came to realize, and we've had lots of conversations about this, is that not only is it about the sound that we make, but it's the vibration that we emanate. And what we're vibrating as will not only generate a beautiful voice, but it also can generate a beautiful life, one that heals the body, one that heals relationships and heals ways of being in the world, simply because we're opening the system in ways that it perhaps had been shut down or never even opened initially. So it kind of started translating into healing, right? Into vibrational healing for yourself, I know, in those moments in your own grief. But then what happened as you began to notice, as you were, discovering the bowls again and working deeply with that, what happened for you inside those moments where you were working to heal yourself and you were recognizing that something more was happening through you? I'd love for you to just share whatever you care to share about that.
I think, first of all, your work just has had a profound effect on my life and really uplifted me in the times that I couldn't see light through the darkness. And what I began to realize in learning about the I am presence, for example, was that there was this connection, and that had to do with higher notes, right? And then there was this theme that you kept saying to me, like, Jeralyn, embodiment. And I was like, okay, I get it, Dr. Sue. Was like, no, I mean embodiment. And, realizing that I could be that beam of light coming down through my body, and I could relate that to higher tones and then lower tones and then centering tones. And that helped, I think, to go into the places where the grief was sitting, where blockages were. And suddenly I began to feel that those blockages, that pain was dissipating. And I remember the first time I really worked with the bowls and my breath and what I was learning from you, I worked about 50 minutes and I started to keen and groan and make sounds that certainly I never had made as an opera singer or as a musical theater singer, but there were sounds coming out of me like deep keening and groaning, and suddenly I went to wash my face and there was joy in my eyes. It was the first time really after Machu Picchu it started to come, but then it really started to come. And then what I started to notice was that things that triggered me, things that upset me, suddenly they didn't in the same way. I recognized that I was transforming, I was healing.
What's so fascinating about this is here, you have been professionally trained as an opera singer. You were also in musical theater, you're on Broadway, and you knew how to make the right sounds. And now different sounds were coming through you that were also right sounds. They weren't maybe the beautiful sounds that you'd been trained to hear and to emulate and to project into a theater, but they were sounds that were healing you. And I think that it's important for us to take note that it's the sounds between the perfect notes that sometimes heal us. It's those moments and those vibrations and those energies in between the planned and predicted ones, the desirable ones, the ones that we can relate to, that are familiar or ideal. There are sounds in between those sounds that we each make, not only literal sounds, but thoughts also generate vibrations. Felt sensations of emotions also are vibrational frequencies. And when we start allowing the sounds of grief or the sounds of confusion or the sounds of disorientation to be valued as much as these perfecting sounds that we've all been trained to shoot for and to emulate and so forth, that we kind of fill in the gaps in a way, right? So something was happening in you in those moments that was allowing for a filling in of parts of you that maybe you would have never known had you not been so deeply, drawn into these crevices of the grief of losing your son. So what might you say in terms of healing for people in terms of how this was affecting you in those moments? What was happening inside of you when these new sounds, these different sounds were coming through you? Did you find or discover some version of yourself in a way that maybe you didn't even have words for? I don't know. I know how it was for me in healing these types of moments, but can you share anything with our audience that they might be able to recognize, oh, I could allow that to happen in me, and then perhaps I could heal too?
Yeah, I think from the energy codes also, I knew as a singer that it was very important to be in my body, but this level of embodiment that I learned from you allowed me to really drop in, and this volume turned down. And so if sounds came that were like, whatever the sounds were, they came freely because my mind wasn't going, oh, well, don't do that. And I think the first thing that really struck me was when I first started processing the grief, the bowl itself sounded like nails on a chalkboard. And of course, me as a musician, I was like, okay, what are you doing wrong, Jeralyn? But it wasn't about that. It was that the bowl was working to entrain the grief I was feeling and trying to match it and uplift it and help me to release it, right? Mm-hmm. So it gave me these all kinds of sounds that, let's say, were dissonant or ugly, that I would feel, or this nails on a chalkboard. These started to move freely within me. And then I got to express those in a way that I never had before, Sue. And I started to heal. It started to make space for me inside that more light could enter, more love could enter. And I began to understand more and more what it means to walk as love, what it means to be that greater love that you teach us, right? And that this greater love was replacing grief. And it wasn't that the grief was bad. The grief was very anchoring, but it was like, if I can, I think I know I've told you that 3 different doctors asked me to go on antidepressants. And it was like, why? I need to be able, in order to truly heal, I knew that I needed to be able to breathe and feel whatever it was that I was feeling. And again, the energy codes gave me the structure of how to do that, and how that was sacred, and how that was safe, and how it was not only sacred and safe, that's how you heal, right? So having permission to make all kinds of sounds, to move them throughout my body, to feel them in the soles of my feet, to recognize where chakra 10 was when I would make sounds, to recognize 8 and 9, to feel the presence of my heart, and to feel, as those sounds cleared, that love was coming more and more and more present. And I could walk as it. There was light in my eyes again. I could find joy, which honestly, I never thought I could feel again. I really didn't.
Well, you have certainly landed inside of a space that has been transformative for you. And I know you've been teaching courses and teaching people how to find that through activating sound vibration, through working with the crystal toning bowls and working with their voices and opening up their own system in similar ways. And so it's it's certainly been a great gift to many people that you were willing to lean in and discover these versions of you that you were not as familiar with at the time. And so we know that you're writing about that, and you've generated and compiled your experiences in a beautiful way. And it's a new book that you are bringing forward. And so we would love for you to share a little bit about this sacred frequencies of your new book. So thank you for holding that up. I meant to have one here and I got out of town without it. And so I'm thrilled that you are able to show this up. Just put that up to the camera a little bit more for us to give it right there, Sacred Vibrations. Okay, so speak to us about what's in the book.
Well, look who wrote the foreword.
I got to play a little bit with that. I can't not. So thank you for that invitation. And it was my honor. It was my pleasure to do so.
There would have been no one else, Dr. Sue, that could have written that foreword. It was, it was like, as I started to write, it felt like, okay, I had started to work with cancer patients because I knew, as I sat in my own grief, I knew that if I didn't get myself out of my bed and do something to be of help to others, that I would never get out of my bed. And again, the community of the energy codes has been such a stable part of all of that, of feeling safe enough to come out. And I had never done crystal sound meditations before, but I asked the cancer support community if I could do that. And there I was, and I started to begin to share. And in the book, there's different sections, like what we called sound RXs. So there's different stories that I tell from working with cancer patients, working with hospice patients, working with veterans, working with children, Parkinson's, and then also some of the practitioners that have graduated with the Sacred Science of Sound. Their stories are in there too, and a couple of them are energy codes folks. And then there's the story of my life as a musician, and what did that mean? What did it mean to have this crystalline vessel, our bodies, our crystalline structure? What did it mean for me to be able to project sound in big theaters, and how did that affect what I'm doing today? Then, of course, there's the history of sound in there and all the miracles. There's a chapter that's dedicated to you and what happened in Peru, and the miracles of communication that came from Dylan through sound vibration, and how we connected, how I learned that there's just so much more, once again, than I had thought. And when someone passes away, they're not gone. They're just gone in this human form. And then there's, of course, things about the crystal bowls themselves and the history of them, and then music theory, and how does the structure of sound, how does that really hold us in a place that creates sacredness? Because sacredness is such an essential component to everything that I do with sound. It has to be in the highest level of integrity, because I know, working with you, what that means, to work with energy in that way. And then there's different stories from people that I have trained and worked with. And then I pose the question, what is the future of music as medicine? And running also throughout the book is the theme of Beethoven. Beethoven is the Ninth Symphony I sang often in my career, and I sang it when I was pregnant with Dylan. So there's a connection there with the joy for all mankind, and how sound can be that great unifier. And then I'm privileged that colleagues such as Dr. Daniel Levitin and John Stewart Reed and Eileen McCusick have threaded some of their wisdom throughout the book, so that I think it's a big bite into where are we going with sound, and why is it really this medicine for right now, what we are experiencing right now in the world.
Well, we are made of sound vibration. You know this, and I'm happy to share it in this moment with our entire community again, that we are made of light compressing itself toward form. And the very first vibration that gets generated is a vibrational frequency. It's a sound, and it actually generates a frequency that is what we call love. And so when we're dialing into music as medicine, when we're dialing into that as a reprieve to the outer distractions and distortions of the outer world, we drop into a higher truth, a deeper truth, and simultaneously. And a byproduct of that is we heal. We start shedding the layers of identity that are not true, and we start dropping into something that is moving and flowing. And that is the truth of us. We are truly liquid light that is moving and flowing as a stream of consciousness. And so when we start working with anything that pulls us into that truth, everything gets better. So thank you so much for, devoting your time. I know what it takes to create a book and to do everything that is required for that to unfold. And here you are. This is your moment. The book is launching, it's coming forward, and we're thrilled to be able to help you bring that forward to the world. So I'd love to know, is there anything that people can do to pre-order the book, or, what can people do to get a hold of these sacred vibrations sooner than later?
Yes, it is available now for pre-order. It is releasing officially on July 23rd. And if you pre-order and come to our website, crystalcadence.com, on the book landing page, then you can sign up for some free meditations. And you and I are going to do a conversation together, which I'm very excited about, online, so we can reach the communities around the world. And then 2 live events while in Los Angeles. So yes, it's available at all the bookstores that you go to, and very excited for your support.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So I know on the 23rd, there's a live broadcast with us. That's on the 23rd at noon Pacific time, just to let everybody know, mark your calendar. Also on the 23rd, that evening at 7 p.m. Pacific time, we're going to be at Barnes & Noble in Los Angeles. And so if anyone's in the area, come by and participate in this great celebration, the book release and a book signing. That we'll both be there for that. And the following day at 8:30 Pacific time, we're also going to be at Astrogong in Los Angeles for a sound bath and meditation and celebration, with Jeralyn and I both hosting that and being there for you for this beautiful experience. We're definitely looking forward to that. And then even a few days later, July 27th at Harmony Yoga, Jeralyn will be there. And also in Los Angeles, and then San Diego, Huntington Beach, Santa Barbara the following week. So you can plug in with her and see where she's headed and what's going on, and partake in some or all of that to be a part of what is unfolding here with this beautiful celebration of bringing together, the concepts that are inside of our community at Mortar Institute, and also, bringing that, wrapping it inside of another application of it, which brings a beautiful new flavor and application to how we heal. And I think that it's a very important moment for our humanity to recognize that something as simple as the tones and the sounds that generate through our system, through the thoughts that we think, and the music that we hum or that we tone or that we align with, or what we can generate through crystal toning bowls, and to truly be immersing ourselves in vibration. It's a beautiful time for our humanity to know that something as simple sounding as those modalities can change your disposition, can change your come from and your therefore intention. And then what happens in the physical body is healing happens, and we begin to see life differently. We begin to look out through these eyes and see a world with a different filter, one that is based in true possibility and expansive love. And so, Jeralyn, it is so beautiful to see that unfolding in you. I've been so proud. I know it's not mine to say I'm proud of you, but I'm proud of you. And I'm inspired by you taking a hold of something that could have been, an altering moment in your life that held you in a dissonant energy for the rest of time. I know people have certainly been locked into that under some similar circumstances historically. And we are inspired by what you've chosen to do with your story, and inspired by your tapping into the version of you that goes beyond story, and allowing that to flourish when it was a choice that you had to make, and in a true inspiration to others. So is there anything else that you would like to share or say in this moment of celebration of you and sacred vibrations?
Yeah, I mean, just watching where I've come from since I've met you and since Dylan guided me to you. I got to present last year in Washington, D.C. for the National Institute of Health and the Kennedy Center and the Renee Fleming Foundation. And they are, the scientists and the research and the doctors are really interested in now this sound as medicine, energy medicine that's more and more coming to the forefront. And I felt incredibly honored to understand that I actually created this. We actually had a big bus stop together, you, Dylan, and myself, and that all that was happening in my life was really good, and that I could, from my long career in music, I could speak on that level and begin to share more and more about what happens between that connection of science and spirituality, and that it's so important that we are able to go into that place of the ineffable, that place that there are no words, that place of the sublime. And that's where healing for me happened. It didn't happen here because, as my singing teacher used to say, nothing vibrates here. Your body vibrates, right? So I think that's been the real joy, is connecting and collaborating with many different kinds of people who might not have, leaned into energy medicine and music as medicine. And I'm just very grateful. I didn't know that I could get to the place to say that Dylan's passing brought something so incredible, not just for me, but for so many others. And he's as present as he was in his life. It's just in a different form. So I'm grateful for you, Dr. Sue, for everything that you taught me and held me in a time where I could have crashed and burned, truly. And
well, there is more in store for you than crashing and burning. And a beautiful byproduct of your acceptance of that is that you're turning around and paying it forward to the many others who have found their way to you because they've been through similar traumas and circumstances. And it is a great gift to the world when each one of us allows for something so phenomenal to happen, to transpire, when we open instead of shut down, when we look to the possibilities instead of being victimized on an ongoing basis. Grief is important that we learn how to be present with it. And transformation is a byproduct of us coming present to what's real and raw and true for us. And so by your example, I know that many will be inspired. And so I look forward to this book being in the hands of millions of people around the world and opening doorways for them into their own true sacred vibrations in the holiest of spaces within their deep, deep loving selves. So thank you for creating a life of service where you have compiled this work and put it together and gone through what it takes to publish such works. And I know that Hay House is thrilled to have you as part of their team. And it is an honor and a true gift to our entire community. So thank you for that. We're going to post this. It is crystalcadence.com/sacred vibrations, sacred-vibrations. We'll post that, make sure everyone has access to this. So let's pre-order the book and help Jeralyn out with her big and beautiful launch in the weeks to come. All right. Much love to everyone. Thank you all for being here. Jeralyn, thank you for your time. I know things are amping up for you because everybody wants to talk about this new book and get you on their podcasts and those types of things. So we're happy and thrilled that you just carved out a moment that we could drop in and have a conversation of deep meaning. All right. So
thank you,
my dear. Okay. Much love. Much love to everyone. Bye-bye for now. Thanks for being in the yes of life. Much love. Namaste.